Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening on this last Being Here podcast of 2021. What a year.
Yes, it has been.
Were you lost in a worry whirlpool?
Well, that seems to be the state of humanity. So if you were, welcome to the club.
It's very wild how much has happened in this past year. I can't even recall it. The beginning of 2021, we were deeply in the COVID pandemic, and now things have become sort of normalized.
Yeah, but I, from what I'm hearing, it's recurring in different places all over again. So it'll be around for a while.
And you can either worry about it or be here. So today, yes, you're going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, our minds, that voice we listen to is a survival machine, and it worries about your survival or its survival. And so it teases out the worst possible scenarios to survive with. But let's talk about listening, because if I talk about the mind, we'll get lost in our minds and we'll stop listening.
That's true.
Yeah.
Listening supports you in being here. And it is the primary support system that will allow you not to have to dive into that worry whirlpool. Listening to hear what someone has to say will allow you to be here as a byproduct. And when you're here, your life transforms
in an instant. What's interesting, I love the cadence you used there, because it was very difficult to think between your words.
In case you haven't noticed, we do finish each other's sentences. And it's one of my greatest pleasures to see where you go with what I was saying. Because oftentimes you fill in with where my thoughts were or the words that I'm about to say.
Yes.
And other times it goes in a vastly different direction, and it's all perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Good.
As we're finishing out the year, I just want to say I love you so deeply.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
It took a little intentionality to hear that.
I know.
Because it's hard to believe that anybody would want to love me deeply.
Only to your mind.
That's right.
In that conversation that calls itself Shya.
Yes, ma'am.
But in your being, you are loved.
Yes. As
do you. As do all of you. You are loved.
So we're going to talk about listening, eh?
Okay.
So listening is allowing what's being said to come into you without filtering it through the story you usually interpret your life through. Listening is not agreeing with or disagreeing with the information presented. It's allowing it to come into you without seeing whether you already know it, agree with it, disagree with it, that kind of thing.
Or stop to ponder it. Like when you said the story you interpret your life through, that set of words was so fantastic. I wanted to stop and savor it a minute. But when I started to savor it, I began.
You stop missing everything else.
I did. So it was really fun to let it go.
Yes.
Although it was easily pulled backable.
Yes. So. In any event, see if you can just allow yourself not to be distracted by what's around you and listen to this podcast as though it held the keys to your discovering your aliveness, your magnificence.
This is really a perfect episode to end the year with. And I have to say kudos to the whole Being Here podcast team who've set this up. In particular, in this case, Lenore and Zoe, because we scheduled it for this particular day, because I feel like the culture itself aims us toward the future at the beginning of the year, worrying about your health, your weight, your finances, your family, what's next, am I successful enough? It's all future oriented, based on an internal conversation that generally finds that you aren't enough, or if you're gain weight, you're too much. But it's about a self-judgment system, not observing what is without judging what you see.
Which is the basis of our technology regarding transformation. That if you notice how you're being without judging yourself, you get better naturally. If you work on yourself, you get stuck in a never-ending process.
Because what you resist, what you don't like, you reinforce. It's the first principle of instantaneous transformation. You don't want something,
That's
you push
what you're
against
stuck
it,
with.
you're stuck with it.
That's it.
Second principle, life shows up exactly as it does in any given moment. So here you are, exactly as you are. And anything you see or observe without...
Are allowed to be without judging completes itself.
So you allow something to be exactly as it is, and then you have possibility.
Well, then you have a new moment.
It's new.
It's new. It's all new. So you can start your life newly in this moment by allowing yourself to be exactly as you are. It's a high likelihood that you're not going to do that, because you got this habit, this habituated way of going through life where you complain about yourself to yourself, and that keeps everything intact.
Well, you know, I love the idea of a whirlpool, because once you jump in, you kind of get sucked down. If you don't take it personally, that from time to time you worry, that you were raised in a culture of worriers and you learned how to do it, it makes it so much easier to discover that you're just right on the side of it, rather right in the middle.
That's cool. I like that.
Speaking of new.
Let's take our first guest. Dima.
Yes, Dima, where are you zooming in from today?
Hi, Shya. Hi, Ariel. This is Dima zooming in from Cologne in Germany.
Awesome.
It's so nice to see you. I'm kind of sorry we don't do these with videos so that everybody gets to see you.
You know, what's cool is you say Cologne, and we've been to Cologne several times. We have friends there who have a theater, and so we've spent quite a bit of time in Cologne. So, and images show up with the word.
Yeah, what kind of images?
Well, there was a billboard on the street there that said, "Have a pint, life sucks."
For me, I mean, of course, the big church that is the dome, but there's a part of the wall that was part of Cambridge that used to be a wall. I've seen our friends Ralph and Arna walk in front of it holding their Scala Theater umbrellas, and it was just such an awesome picture. So that's what comes to mind for me.
Cool. I like the billboard. Sounds really Kölsch.
It is. It's near their theater. So if you ever go there, look for it. Life sucks, have a pint. So what can we do for you, sir?
Well, I heard about the topic from today, and I said, well, that sounds like me, the worry whirlpool. And I, like always, I was preparing what I'm gonna say, but I just forgot what I'm gonna say. And the first thing that comes to mind is that since about 10 years, I go to bed with an ebook reader that I then use. So I read books before going to sleep. So nothing out of the usual, I would say, but I realized in the last couple of months that I do it to quiet my mind, because otherwise, if I don't have it, and it's happened sometimes if I'm traveling and I forget it at home, or if the battery dies and I cannot charge it, and then I lie in bed and then I'm missing this reading because I can't stop thinking about something in the future. Mostly it's finance stuff, but also like, business, kids, relationships. Yeah, and this it worries me that I cannot live anymore without this thing, reading before going to sleep. And I was wondering if there is something I can do to change that.
Well, I don't know that there's a problem with your reading before you go to sleep. A lot of people do it. It's not a bad thing. But I spend a long time working on myself, trying to not worry about the future. I once sat and looked at a wall for a week, 24 hours a day, except when I was sleeping. It was part of a group effort to quiet the mind. Guess what? It didn't. I lived in a meditation center for almost 2 years trying to quiet that worrisome mind. But that didn't do it either. If you resist something like worry, that's what you do. If you notice you worry, but as an observer of the worry, not as a complaint about the worry, it can complete itself. Now, here's the other thing. You have no control over how the future is going to show up. Really. It shows up the way it does. Worrying about it doesn't change anything except ruins the current moment of your life because you're lost in a complaint that things aren't going the way you think they ought to. So you can either worry about the future or you can live your life. And if you worry, you notice you worry, it'll complete itself if you just notice it. But if you try not to worry, it's a guarantee you'll keep it. I think it starts by being kind to yourself.
Is there a way to learn that, to be kind to myself?
Well, you're already kinder to yourself than when we first met you. And I'm not sure how that happened. It's kind of happens as you live your life. If you're here.
You see, if you notice that in this moment, you could only be here with us, that there's no other possibility. Sure, you could conjure up fantastic fantasy about where you could be or should be or could have been. But in fact, in this moment, in reality, this is the only place we can be, the three of us. See, we could only be here right now because we are. So this is our universe in this moment. Worrying about how the future is going to show up doesn't allow you to be where you are. So it perpetuates the worry thing, because if you allow yourself to experience your worries, they'll lose their power over you. Now, you talk about the future and how it's going to turn out. Well, you have no control over that, but you do have some control over this moment. You could allow yourself to be exactly as you are right now.
Clearly, you enjoy your e-reader, but you've now, that worry mind is now turned it into something to worry about. Oh, I kind of worry that I need that in order to not worry.
I don't think you do it in order to not worry. I think you actually enjoy reading.
I do, and it's actually the only time of the day where I can do it in peace. And I started reading actual books now with like a little light that I use, not to wake up my wife and my daughters, and just to see if this was dependent on the device, but it's not. So Yeah, doesn't matter what
Here's the thing.
I'm not reading, I start worrying about something.
Dima. No two things can occupy the same dima at the same time. So if you're reading a book and are engaged in the reading of that book, your mind cannot worry about something else.
That's right. Yeah.
So
now when your e-reader goes dead or you forget it while you're on a thing and those
repetitive thoughts show up.
Queue up, you resist them rather than treat it like the book you're reading. Oh, look, I have some quiet time. Here they go. This chapter is playing. And you don't have to treat them so seriously. You know, I love to read at night. Although the light from my iPad seems to repel my cat. So the other night, the cat jumped on the bed, and I loved the feel of her weight on me. And I knew that if I kept reading, she would jump off. So I was still very awake. I closed the iPad and I thought, I'll just relax. Now, generally, when I read it, I disengage from whatever momentum I gained in the day. And I just let it flow through. And I have a feeling you don't put down your e-reader as though it's your idea. You only trick yourself into putting it down by, quote, forgetting it or forgetting to charge it.
Well, I didn't think about it this way, but
because most of the time you remember to charge it, or most of the time you remember to bring it. So what if not having it is not a mistake? What if it's on purpose? And what if there's nothing wrong, including your racing mind when it races?
See,
sounds comforting.
It is, Dima, our idea is that your life is unfolding perfectly in this moment. So in this moment, the three of us are supposed to be together here talking because we are. And it's a perfect moment. Couldn't be better. What if your life is a series of perfect moments of now? And there's a soundtrack running alongside of it. And the soundtrack is a track of worry. If I don't do this, what will happen?
Will I have enough money to pay for?
But that soundtrack has been around forever. It's like an old friend. And what if you don't try to get rid of it? What if you just notice it as though it's a soundtrack, not you? As though it's the radio that's playing the background music in the elevator you happen to be in. What if there's nothing wrong with you that the soundtrack worries?
You know, when sometimes I engage with the thoughts that I have, excuse me, and this helps to an extent, but then they never stop. You know,
well, maybe you should stop trying to stop your thoughts.
Yeah.
See, it doesn't mean you're not enlightened if you have thoughts.
You know, every once in a while I'll wake up and I'll have thoughts running. I mean, I wake up every night because the culture of our cat is she decides that she really wants food anywhere between 3 and 5 in the morning. And unless we lock her into a different part of the house, she will come and stroke my face with her paw. If that doesn't work, she'll nibble on my nose or she'll run up and down my body until I actually get up and feed her. And usually I'll feed her and I'll go back to bed. But occasionally when I come back to bed, whatever is going on in my life will start to emerge and sleep will be elusive.
In thoughts.
In thoughts. And one of the things that's happened for me is like, okay, I guess this needs to have its sort out, and I'll just watch the movie. As long as I'm laying here, it's all good. And I have to say that next thing I know, I'm awake. It's hours later. But I allow myself to be content with whatever's happening.
You mean you fell asleep?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Just wanted to clarify it.
rather than thinking that thought process is bad, I shouldn't have it, I don't want to have it, I don't want to have those
Right.
concerns, it's like, okay, here we go, off to the movies. And then it's over.
Sleep comes.
But I don't do it to get rid of it. You can't do that as a device to get over those concerns. But anything you see, hear, allow completes itself.
I tried it tonight. It's almost bedtime here in Cologne.
Well, yeah, and I wouldn't do it as a technique, but look, if your thoughts start playing, listen to them, see them, and realize they're like a jukebox, and it's just playing a random, what do they call that?
Shuffle.
Shuffle. It's like on shuffle.
You know, it's interesting, Dima. You're talking to us about your worried thoughts at night. We haven't seen you in some time. Yeah, I'm sure your life has gotten busy. We're really happy to see you today. Your face looks so much more relaxed
than the last time we saw you. So,
just from an outside
observation,
it's like, wow.
Cool. I don't know what to say. It's a great feedback to hear, and
yes, it's great feedback, because the feedback you usually give yourself is that repetitive feedback, like you're not enough. You need
right,
to
sir.
Or different. Well, maybe, my friend, you are enough. Exactly as you are is
worries
perfect.
And all.
Yes, worries and all. If you include the worries, rather than try to get rid of them, they may go away on their own. See, what you resist, you get stuck with. If you resist worrying, then you're stuck with it. If you just notice that you're worried and not worry about it, maybe you'll discover how to extricate yourself from those thoughts, remove yourself from them, rather than resist having them.
So just accepting that they're there.
Well, accepting makes you the victim.
Accepting usually has a micro no. Sometimes it's a big no. Okay, I accept it. It is what it is. You know, we were joking about that the other day. You don't have sex and have a really glorious orgasm and then turn to your partner and go, I accept that. It is what it is. Acceptance has a kind of,
it wasn't quite right.
It wasn't a full-blown yes. There's nothing glorious about acceptance. It's like, oh, here are the worries again.
But we're talking more about observing or allowing your experience of what you're experiencing, rather than accepting it where you've already rejected it. Because you think it should be different. You think you shouldn't have these worries, rather than that's what the machine does. It worries. And you're not the machine. You are the listener to that machine, the observer of it. But when you confuse yourself with the machine, you get stuck in it.
And if you're normal, and I suspect you are, you think a better you wouldn't worry. And now we've had this conversation, so you're likely to adopt the idea that a better you won't reject your no, rather than watching like, oh no, look at this. I'm saying no, I don't want this. that it at some point when we're here, we find a place of neutrality, which includes if you have a knee-jerk, oh my God, my e-reader has died, and now I'm thinking about the day, where you can go, huh, look at that.
A new experience.
A new worry.
That sounds lovely.
Well,
Just being here is great.
I believe that you are lovely.
That's what I was going to say.
Not only does it sound lovely, you are lovely. And it's been an honor to hang out with you for this bit of time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Mm.
It's time for our listener feedback spotlight, where we hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life.
If you want to learn more about our seminars, any of the upcoming virtual courses, visit transformationmadeeasy.com.
That is transformation made easy, easy.com.
I love it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley from Cambridge in England, and transformation for me is a gift. It just shifts the weight from my shoulders, the mist from my eyes, and has me see things in a completely different way. And I love it.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
Coming up, we have a Living Made Easy seminar on Tuesday evening. It's translated for those of you in Cologne and in Germany, English and German. And then the following weekend is our fun
As the Access Way to Enlightenment weekend. That's January 8th and 9th.
We figured we could all just skip the part where we have to make resolutions to be better us and start having fun and see where it leads us. In March, we're doing a course called Passion, Revitalize Your Life. You're invited to that as well. It's March 5th and 6th. And then in between there, Shya and I and a whole host of you are heading off to Costa Rica. We're looking forward to seeing people in person. It's been a while. And before we take our next caller, we just want to have a shout out to all of our listeners for this year. Thank you for being part of the Being Here family. We wouldn't be doing this if you weren't out there listening. Shya said to Dima, we're honored that he spent the time with us and came and spoke with all of you. We're honored also that you are listening. Even if we've never met you, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Ready for our next
I am.
guest? All right. Hello, Marin. Where are you zooming in from?
Hi, this is Maren zooming in from Brussels, Belgium.
Welcome.
Excellent.
And thank you for saying Brussels, Belgium, for all those who are geographically challenged.
Yeah. Do you remember the song Don't Worry, Be Happy?
Mhm.
Came up in my mind when I read the title of the show. And then I remembered that I used to get really annoyed when I heard that song. Must have been 10 or 11 years ago, can't remember. Especially the line, everything's gonna be all right. I used to switch off the radio at times. Yeah, if I was in Jamaica in the sun, a warm breeze, I wouldn't be worrying. But yeah, it's been a worry year. I've noticed it's just been worrying about this and about that, and how worry even sneaks into the nice moments. I get to see my parents sometimes, not very often, and my dad and I have a tradition. We always dance a waltz together. My dad and I love dancing, and sometimes at the end of my visit to my parents, we do it on a platform waiting for the train. And then I'd be worrying, is the train going to be on time? And are we going to catch the connecting train? So I'm not really there.
Love that. I love
It's,
that. Now, you can either hold that as, oh, Marin is awful. She's with her dad worrying about the train. Or you can start to see that this is what the mind does when things get a little too intimate.
yeah.
It's not a problem. It's your like safety valve. And if you notice you're thinking about, well, the train coming, is the train coming? Will it be on time? While you're being with your dad, or in that case, not quite being with him, it's a way to save you from intimacy, from is this the last time I'll see him, from concern. It's a way to divert you from the intensity of the moment.
Yeah, it's true. My mind goes into drama like this might be the last dance.
Yes.
So,
Shya and I often have talked about this. I think it's a Gandhi quote. I'm not sure. That live like you are going to die tomorrow and plan like you're going to live forever. So anything we do could be the last.
If Ariel gets in the car to go into town, there is a very real possibility, not a high probability, but a possibility that she might never return. There are accidents that happen. There's highways and things. After this podcast today, I'm driving her to the airport so she can fly to the other side of the country to see her father and her sisters.
My dad is, as of last week, now in hospice. So by the time this airs, it's hard to tell whether or not he will still be with us. He may be, he may not. But one of the things that I'm finding very lovely is that I can either worry about that or I can be with you. And by being with you and experiencing the intimacy of that, then when I walk through the door and see him, or when I get to the hotel and meet up with my sister, I can be there for the blossoming of that as well. And I'll tell you, one of the things about practicing being here, Marin, is my life is not filled with regrets.
Well, that's one of the magic or miracles of transformation. When you discover that you could only be doing what you're doing in the current moment, then that self-recrimination where I should have said that, I should have done that falls away eventually. And you realize that you're doing exactly what you want to do. I built us recently a woodshed in our backyard to store firewood.
Don't picture it as a small little hutch. It's how many meters?
It's 4 meters by 4 meters. No, is that right? Yeah, 4 times 3. Yeah, about 4 meters by 4 meters. And it's about
3 meters high.
A little bit more than 3 meters high. So it's pretty big. And I've been cutting and splitting wood and putting it in there, stacking it. And that's all I've been doing a lot of my day.
Recreational time.
A lot of my day has been that. And that's exactly all I was doing. Putting one piece of wood where it fit in the pile, and then the next, and then the next. And it was very satisfying. Now all that wood is split up and stacked in my woodshed. So now I have to find some other wood to split. Look, you can't do your life wrong, my dear. You haven't done it wrong. That's the thing. You have this mind that worries that you could do it wrong.
The other thing is you take it all on you, the simul that you like are suddenly worried about the train. Early on, when Shya and I were first together and our lives were more separate, there would come times, for instance, when we were having sex, where I would start thinking. And then we had this agreement with each other to talk about things. And so the agreement itself supported me in being pretty straightforward. So I'd go, oh man, I suddenly am thinking about, now it might be emails. I don't remember what it was back then. And he'd say, oh yeah, I was thinking just then about X, like we simul left. And then we were, by being straightforward about it, suddenly we were returned to each other. I wouldn't be surprised if from time to time, when you're having a dance with your dad, for instance, you're off thinking about the train, he's off worrying about, is this the last time I will see her? Or, gee, I got a pain in my knee, or whatever the thing is that he might be having too. But if you don't make you wrong, you don't make him wrong. And then thinking or not thinking, it's all this healing potential or a potential for well-being, as opposed to, oh God, I screwed up again, I started thinking.
Well, that whole mind thought process is one of complaint about you to you.
Yeah.
And what if there's nothing wrong with you? Here's the thing. I've said this before, but if you could see you through our eyes, through my eyes, you'd realize what a beautiful person you are.
Thank you.
And that's not to try to compliment you. It's because that's my experience of you.
Now, mind you, we haven't seen you in a while either. So thank goodness for our being here podcast. So we have the opportunity.
And for the technology that allows us to see you in real time. That's amazing.
I want to go back to something you said by way of introduction to yourself. You talked about how this was a worrisome year and how you worried. I actually have a suspicion that you worried less, but you were more aware of it. Because when I look at your face, Maren, the amount of tension, the how your being is not the culmination of a year-long worry fest.
That's true. I notice it more, and then I step back going, yeah, that's true.
And that factor, that look at that, is like the dissolving solution. Shya was telling me today that we just finished our dishwashing soap. And I remember the old commercials, and Dawn is the brand, but it's claim to fame back when I saw it on commercials, where you could put a drop in water that had grease on top and it would make the grease just go fly away. So in a way, it's like the factor, you drop it and then the worries disperse, because you're not being hard on yourself for being you and for being human.
I had something recently. I was worried and distracted. I can't remember about what. I was returning from work in the neighboring country in Luxembourg, which is not very far. But anyway, it's like 3 hours to travel home. And then the next day, I noticed I didn't have my laptop in my laptop bag. I'd actually left it at the conference center. And there was a moment of total shock, and was really judging myself, as in, how can I forget to bring home the one device I need to work with? But then the next moment was, I need a break. I've been working so much, then I just need a break. And that was really helpful. That was relaxing. Then I could get the trip organized to go back to Luxembourg, retrieve my laptop. Thankfully, it'd been found and everything, wasn't stolen. So this is something I've noticed, that even in somehow absurd situations, there's less judging.
That's great.
But the first half rings true. The second half is a complaint against you. When you say, I need a break, I get that. You know, when we need a break, that's when we start making mistakes.
You know, when handling a wood splitter, that is a powerful tool that could cut my hand off as easily as it could split a piece of wood, a piece of oak. I have to, if I notice that I'm getting sloppy, I stop right there.
But he doesn't say, I have to quit now because I've been working so hard. It's somehow a complaint about the amount of work you have or against yourself. And then when I've seen that with people who have this idea that they've been working too hard and they stop the action, then the next thing you know, they go, I don't have enough work.
Yeah.
So then life is like this up and down, rather than a hum of well-being. It's like a roller coaster.
It's true.
So good for you for taking a break. And even better that you saw your initial reaction was, and then what stepped in was you. You can't, it's like you can't really fault yourself. Well, you can, but you don't need to fault yourself for having that knee-jerk, reflexive thought process. It's what you do with it after that matters.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
hear that you got your laptop back.
Yes.
So am I. I'm using it now to talk to you.
Good.
Thank goodness.
I'm very happy you got it back then.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for being part of this very last show of the year. And I have a feeling this conversation we had with you is really going to resonate with a lot of people. And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Happy New Year.
You know, I know she left, but I have a feeling she's still listening. Selba. It's been an honor right back. As in, it takes one to know one. So if you want to be a guest in 2022 or beyond the show, you can go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. Next week's podcast
is Everyone Matters or Nobody Matters?
Yeah, we're going to play with that in the new year. Thank you again for partaking and for being a listener. And we wish you the very, very best
in this new year and in this next moment of your life.
We shall be back next week.
So come on back.
And ready for this?
Don't miss being here.